Y'all Moon Griffon show. Another legislative session. How many is this since Edwards been in office? 27? It's just like we stay in a session. We stay in a regular or special session all the time, and then we watch the press and the media blame the House Republicans for everything. It's just same old, same old, same old, and it's never going to stop. As long as we have no press corps in the state of Louisiana or Washington, D.C., and they're taking sides and they're not trying to do stuff, it's never going to get straight. Anyway, thanks for being part of the program. 844-766-6607, Hickson has a hotline. I want to ask the governor and the legislature and the governor and the media mostly. We have been inundated. By the way, let me back up. Brandon, I wanted to thank a lot of people. Options program, which, as you know, Maddie's at. Maddie is at St. Thomas More, an options program. They had their Hope Fest run, the 5K, a 2K run, 5K run. And Brandon, I didn't run it. I ain't got the knees to run. Yeah. But we participate, sponsored. They had a lot of great sponsors for it. Lance Struthers that came on with STM. It was a big hit. They were hoping, Brandon, what they did was there's also, as you know, a musical options musical thing they do as well as part of the
later
Hope
in
Fest.
the month, right?
Yeah, and they give money to other entities too and other charities. It's not just options in that particular deal. So there's another event coming up. Well, a lot of people gave money, and what they usually do at that event, Brandon, they will have an auction, a silent auction to go along with it, and they raise money like that. Well, they decided that what they wanted to do was get more runners, and they figured out they had to get 345 runners. They had 200 last year. They needed 345 runners to do what the auction did, and that way they can just do one thing. So no private auction. They needed 345 runners versus 200. Brandon, they had 360 before Saturday, and they had about another 70 or 80 walk up, so they were over 400.
Wow.
And for something. And so I just wanted to thank everybody who participated in that. That was really an awesome event. I want to thank, I'll give you an example. Chad Rogers, the Dead Pelican, and Chad didn't tell me this, but I'm walking around talking to people at the event. That's Chad Rogers. I said, man, what are you doing here? And Chad goes, man, I heard you talk about it on the air. Chad lives over there on the other side of Baton Rouge, and he said, man, I like to do these charity stuff. He came all the way over here just to run. And so, by the way, Brandon, he did say, I thought you might be running.
Yeah.
I think Chad wanted to run with me. But I told him if I didn't let me drive the truck around, I would have ran on side of him like that, but I didn't. But anyway, I do want to thank Chad and all the people that contributed to that. But they did, by changing what they were trying to do, Brandon, we ended up getting a break on the weather. It was supposed to storm. So you had 70, 80 people walk up along with the 360 plus that were already in there. So it ended up being a big deal. And I know STM and Options Program and Lance and everybody was really involved in that. It's very appreciative. I know just friends of ours, Tanya put it on Facebook, and people donated money to the Options Program that never even thought about running. And so we were humble people that people did some donations in my daddy's name, to the Options deal. So however you donated, whether you knew somebody in there, you just wanted to give to that program. Maddie's down. I don't know if y'all noticed now. This is a 4th year. It's a 5-year program. We got 1 year left. And that brings me to what I want to talk about. And I said all that to say what I'm getting ready to say. I've heard, we had the governor's executive council here, the governor, the press, the media, telling Republicans, where you going to cut? 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 And all they want is revenue. Bell Edwards, since he got in his office, has only fought to take more money out of middle and working class people's pockets. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. That's his governorship. And we keep hearing what to cut, where to cut, where the Republicans going to cut. And I got to thinking, well, who's going to pay the taxes? Well, it's going to be the working, middle class, hardworking people of the state. We're going to pay it all. And we already got hit. People that itemized Trump's tax code was great for us, but Louisiana's taking that away from us the way we got our tax system set up. So they're already taking money off our income. People are starting to tell me, man, I'm getting a break on the federal, my state's skyrocketing. And we already know life insurance is up. I'm not life. Health insurance is up. We already know automobile insurance is skyrocketing. So sales tax is highest in the country. So all this other money is being taken from us, okay? We already know our middle-class jobs aren't growing. We have no job growth in the state of Louisiana at this point. That's a fact. We don't. We got about the same number of jobs that we had when Bill Edwards started. You notice they're not throwing out the unemployment rate anymore because unemployment rate has gone down because people quit looking for work and we got a heavy out-migration again. So I started thinking, hold up just a second. Instead of we asking what should the Republicans cut out of government, I think we need to start asking what are you and me going to cut out of our budget because they come and get the money. And they're making everybody feel bad because of dialysis machines and tops and all that. And I got to thinking about it. I just kind of took some numbers. I'm not going to get into numbers, but I thought about you and me and what we got to pay every day for the most of the working people that are out there. And so what I'd like to do is have the media and the governor tell us what we're going to have to cut to make sure state government has plenty of money. Because when it comes down to it, if they're going to take more of our money and our income's not going up, we have to cut something to give them more money. So I started thinking about all the things that I have to pay and you have to pay daily, and I want to know if the governor and the media would come show us what we have to cut to make sure government has plenty. And I started to rent our home. If you got a mortgage or rent, how do you cut that? I mean, that's what you can tell the governor. I mean, that's a mandated cost. You got to live somewhere. Unless you have your house paid off, you are paying something to live. So how do you cut that? Well, you can't. It's kind of a mandated cost. You know, they always talk about, well, remember Bill Edwards and Block and Jay Darden and them, the co-governors out there saying, well, we only have $3 or $4 billion we can play with. Well, let's think about you and me. How much do we have to play with? Well, you got rent, home, that's a mandate. You can't cut that. Health insurance is mandated by the federal government. You can't cut that. Automobile insurance, that's mandated. Mandated by the state government. Well, you can't cut that. Let's say homeowners insurance, you can't cut that, Brandon. Brandon, you got homeowners insurance?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Of course.
I'll tell you why. When you bought it, they made you get it.
Well, yeah.
So that was mandated. So it's something how they keep talking about, well, we only can cut $3 to $4 billion. Well, guess what? How much do you have to cut to give to them? We got a lot of mandates. The sales tax. I can't go, well, you know what, Brandon, I'm going to cut my sales tax to 8%, give the state government a rest. You know why you can't do that? It's mandated. So that's something you have to pay. Homeowners insurance, flood insurance is mandated in the area I live in. I could not buy my house unless I bought flood insurance. Mandated. So I can't cut that. Property tax, Brandon, when I got my bill from the parish of Lafayette, I didn't call him and say, look, I got to pay Bill Edwards $300 or $200 more a month. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pay my property taxes so I can pay some more money to state government. Well, the property tax is mandated. Folks, are y'all feeling my pain now? Where they going to get this money from? It's always the Republicans need to tell us where to cut, and the media plays on it. But grab somebody in the media, and I'm telling y'all, if we had a write-in campaign to the governor and the media, please tell me what I'm supposed to cut so state government will have plenty. Think about it at home, folks. I got Maddie in a private school. Somebody could say that's a choice. Oh, really? There was nowhere else for me to send Maddie. Whatever I had to do with my little girl was going to cost me, and it cost a lot. And I'm so thankful I can afford to pay it. But do I cut Maddie's school out? Do I end her junior year and cut her senior year out so Bill Edwards and the media would be satisfied that I'm giving them enough money? Because I want to know where I cut. What are my utility bills? Brandon, can you cut your utility bill? Don't pay your water bill, your gas bill, or your electric bill, and see what they'll do to you. But so you can't cut that. That's mandated to run your house. Does that not sound like Darden and Edwards in the press? Well, we got so much mandated. Where do you cut it? We only got $3 to $4 billion. But we may not have but $300 or $400 they could have. Car note, I got one. I don't like to have any, but sometime I have one. I got one right now. So what do I do with my car note? Do we sell a car and go down to one vehicle so we could pay Bill Edwards and Jay Darden and the media? Do I give them that money? I'm trying to figure out where I can go get some more taxes for these people. If they keep hitting Republicans on where to cut, where do we cut? Because the bills I'm mentioning are the same ones a lot of you have. So anyway, I do have a cable bill, Brandon. I got cable and the internet and all that stuff tied in there. I can have no TV and no internet. Of course, my kids are going to have problems doing their work, but don't worry about Bell. Give me that $90 a month. How do I cut that? I'm just kind of curious. How about you people that got kids that go to daycare? How about a cell phone? Do I get rid of my cell phone, which, by the way, is the only phone I have at my house besides me and my bride, is cell phones. Do we get rid of the cell phone so Bell Edwards and the state and the media will have enough? So let's see. If you buy diapers, don't buy diapers for your kids, and we'll get the cloth kind. Somebody's going, I'd never do that crap. No. In the name, hold up, Brian. In the name of helping the state get more money, where do you cut? A baby formula? How about your gas bill? Maybe you need to cut your gas. Where do you get the money from? I'm trying to find out, where do I go and get more money, and where do I cut? So I'm thinking all of us need to send our bills, not the amounts, because trust me, the legislature don't know the amounts. Only Bell Edwards knows the amounts. He runs the head. So what do I do? Where do I go? What do I cut? And I want the governor, and I want the press, the people in the media who keep shoving this tax down our throat and up our, I want them to tell me what I'm supposed to cut. Because when you get down to it, okay, Brandon, we probably spend $500 a month on entertainment. Eating out. I can quit going to my kids' baseball games. Hey, that's a great idea. I just quit going so I give Bell Edwards the money. And I wish the people in the Republican Party would listen. Take your bills on average person's bills. We got a lot of mandates that we can't cut. The only thing I can probably cut besides is my $400 or $500 a month that I use as entertainment. Maybe I can cut that and stay at home with no TV, with no nothing, no internet. Maybe we can go in the backyard and sing Kumbaya. My question is, folks, we need to start asking the questions. And the Republicans need to ask the question, what do you want the working class people to cut, Bell Edwards, so y'all can have more money? Should we all cut our health care out so we can give more to the health care? Let me know. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Maybe if you're going to college, you got a kid go to college, maybe you ought to quit paying the college so you can give it to Bell Edwards and Jay Darden, and the media would be happy. Because all they keep going is, what are Republicans going to cut? Well, what do we cut to give you the money? Because it's coming out of our pockets. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Take a break. Be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Asking the questions that I just want to know. What do we cut? And will the press and the John Bell Edwards and the Governor Darden, the co-governors, what do we cut? I just think Republicans, if you're listening out there, you can sit down and make a list of all the things that middle class. What do you want them to cut, Governor? What do you want them to cut? Somebody's got to pay the bill, but what do you want them to cut? Because I started looking, and I don't know about y'all, we run as tight a ship as we can. We like to have a little play money during the month. We like to be able to go and maybe go out to eat, maybe go to some ball games and have a little bit of entertainment. Everybody does. So what do we cut? Do we not? How about if we don't buy? Everybody don't buy clothes and shoes for a whole year. Maybe we can take that money and give it to state government because that's what they're telling you. And I just wish the Republicans would put that back on them. What do you want these people to cut? All right, let's go to the phone line. By the way, real quick, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser we'll have on in the next segment, and then we're looking forward to hearing from United States Senator John Kennedy on the budget and stuff he's been watching as well. So we'll talk to both of them in the course of the next hour of the program. All right, let's go. Bob in Lafayette. Bob, how you doing, sir?
Good morning. Good morning. You're hitting the nail on the head, buddy. How much is enough? How much does government need to grow or have to grow or want to grow on the backs of the taxpayers?
But the flip side of that question is, how much do you have to give up? What do you need to start giving up?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, exactly. I know we're in the Lent season and people give up stuff, but what do they want us to permanently give up? Do we all cut our cable and the internet out? Do I get rid of my cell phone? I can't get rid of something. You notice how they say, well, the budget, we can only cut $3 or $4 billion out of the $30 billion. That's a bunch of bunk anyway. But number two is I might look at my budget. I might can cut $300 or $400 out, but I'm gonna have to cut all my entertainment expense. In other words, I don't need to live. I go to work, go home, go to work, go home, go to work, go home, and do something around the house. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you look at the guy that you had on this past week, and that was a good conversation between you two. But you know what? I kind of was put off by his arrogance that he made it sound like what was going wrong with the state was somehow our fault, that we aren't giving the state enough money.
But
that's where the shortfall is coming in. It's like, why aren't they? And look, this is the Democrat playbook, the fear mongering with the TOPS program and hospitals and all the other things that they throw out. We're going to starve kids and the water's going to be dirty and all that kind of crapola. But he made it sound like it was our fault that we're not paying enough taxes.
I think
rather than the state not getting enough money coming in, they need to reduce taxes. They need to reduce salaries. They need to reduce payroll. They need to take up some of this burden, not just throw it on us.
Well, I think you're very astute. You hit it on the head. They really don't think that we're doing our share of paying the money. But the problem is our median income is not growing. And where do I get the money from? I just went over a ton of bills. Where do I get the money from? Anyway, got to run. Thanks for the call. I want to squeeze one more in. Scott in Shreveport, go.
Yes, sir. Well, to me, the biggest way they could cut, regulate these state highway trucks. Why do they need to run down the road at 75 miles an hour?
I don't know about that. I know
what are you going to do? They could look at the fuel bill they could cut out.
Well, somebody just texted me and said Senator Gerald Long, the stand-up guy, said on a radio program that they have car allowances. They do have car allowances. They get all kind of stuff and all kind of goodies. But I'm telling you, I'm trying to figure out what I need to cut to give them more money. I don't see it in my budget how I'm going to keep giving them more money. I just don't see it. I don't think you see it in your budget either. Got to take a break. Thanks for the call. We'll do this later. Billy Nungesser will join us in a few minutes. Moon Griffon Show, great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline. We're joined by Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Lieutenant Governor Nungesser, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, my friend. How you doing?
Man, I am doing super, man. We had our spring weather in February. Now we're gonna get some cooler weather. We're gonna get our late winter weather in March. Looks like, because it's down here. I know it's gonna be a little bit colder.
I tell you, I just came over the Mississippi River. That river looks like it's still coming up to me, and it's pretty high on the river this morning.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right. Governor, I need to know what the heck is pardoning of the crawfish. I like to eat the heck out of them, and you pardon them.
Well, with the shrinking budget in the state, we got to get creative in ways to promote Louisiana and get some free publicity. Last year, we pardoned the first crawfish. We actually partnered with Zatarain's and named the crawfish Emil after the founder of Zatarain's. And we take one lucky crawfish out the Atchafalaya Basin. We brought it to New Orleans in the mint. We pardoned him while the rest of his family got boiled alive. And
by the way, I'm glad you only did one. I'm glad you only did one.
Well, I was invited to the White House last St. Patrick's Day, and everybody was crowded around the president. I walked up to the vice president and said, Mr. Vice President, he asked me how we were recovering after the flooding, because we had taken them around in the flooding. And I said, look, Mr. Vice President, up here, y'all get ready. Y'all pardon a turkey. Back in Louisiana, we pardon a crawfish. And I said, one lucky crawfish, and his family gets boiled alive. And he said, son, what the hell are you talking about? He had no clue. So it didn't go over quite as well as I thought with the Vice President, but we have a lot of fun with it. And it gets us a lot of publicity to kick off crawfish season.
Well, no doubt about it. That's what I'm saying. When I read this, I said, well, we got to ask the Lieutenant Governor, what is this? My hope and prayer, prayers do work. My hope and prayer was you was only pardoning one, because we want to eat the rest of them guys. All right, you got a Mardi Gras brand that you launched as a follow-up deal. What is that about?
Well, the past Lieutenant Governor had come up with Pick Your Passion. And we're very passionate people. But I looked at other states, and pure Michigan put that state on the map. They went around and found out what sells Michigan, and that brand is really sold Michigan. We hired that guy, and we went across the country and into Canada, and we did data. We did focus groups, and we want to know, what does Louisiana mean to people? What would sell Louisiana? And we, after 6 months of research, we came up with Louisiana Feed Your Soul. You can feed your soul with music. You can feed it with food. You can feed it with fishing. And so we wanted to roll out that brand. And there again, we felt the best way to do it was to go out into the communities. And on Mardi Gras Day, while it was Tuesday everywhere else in the world, Mardi Gras in Louisiana, we gave away king cake on the street corners in Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and I was in Washington, D.C., and invited the press out there. And we got coverage all the way in Germany, giving everybody king cake and feeding their soul to roll out our new brand for Louisiana.
Wow. I remember you coming on talking about that. So that went, what did you do? You just got one company to donate king cakes? You had a bunch of them donate king cakes? How did that work out? Well, I'm sure you got Louisiana companies involved.
Well, we actually shipped the king cakes, and we got a local food truck because they already had the license in those areas. We got it wrapped with Louisiana Feed Your Soul, and we invited everybody out on the street corner and gave away the king cake in little boxes that said Louisiana Feed Your Soul. And we're still getting emails back of people took it back to their office building that ate it and shared it on Facebook, and we got them to take pictures and do videos how they feed their soul in Louisiana and share it. So, when we get creative, and we've got a lot of great people in tourism all over the state, and they went to each city and did a great job. But when we roll up our sleeves and do these kind of creative things, we get so much more bang for our buck than just buying some advertisement. So thank God we've got some great creative, passionate people that we coming up with some great ideas to really get the most bang for our buck in marketing Louisiana.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat thing, and like you say, they're gonna remember Louisiana if they never had a king cake. My problem is I'm the opposite. I never met a king cake I didn't love. I've never eaten a bad. I told somebody the other. Me and Brandon's talked about it. I've never eaten a bad king cake. I'm sorry. You might have your favorite, and I understand that, but I've never eaten a bad one. I just really haven't. Even my wife got a recipe from her grandmother that she does from time to time, and it's really good.
Well, I mail one to all the lieutenant governors every year, and I invite them down to Louisiana. And one of the lieutenant governors got the king cake, and they called the governor's office to make sure they sent it. They didn't know what it was about. They took it out in the parking lot and blew it up because they didn't know where it came from. They'd never seen one. So that was kind of funny. They sent me a picture of this king cake splattered all over the parking lot, made a big deal of it in Missouri. So he didn't do that this year, but the first year he blew up the king cake.
What about the National Service Award? What is this?
Well, myself and Bill Cassidy were in Washington to accept two of the awards, and the award was given to him and to me, but really it's all of Louisiana. It's just a symbol of how great our volunteers are and what we do to help our neighbors and also help our neighboring states in time of need. And it's a National Service Award. I think out of 18 given out in the country, 3 of them went to Louisianans. So that's a great tribute to the people here and what we do in time of need. And I was just honored to be there with Senator Cassidy, accept that award on behalf of Louisiana. But we do have, from the Cajun Navy to all the great volunteer organizations that continue to help their neighbors out. It just shows a great it's the way Louisianans are. We just we're giving of ourselves to help our neighbors, and the National Service Award recognizes that.
All righty, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Billy, we appreciate it. We'll do it again.
Thank you, my friend. You have a great day.
All righty, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline, folks. It was you rock and roll. A lot of stuff going down. Brandon, there's a new centrist party, actually a centrist caucus, middle of the road, stand in the middle and get their butts run over party. That Julie Stokes and Kenny Harvard, I couldn't believe D. Richard put his name on that. That's what they're doing, folks. They're going to call them the Central Caucus, and they're going to caucus in the legislature. In other words, Republican conservatives are getting ready to get drilled by some of these left-leaning Nancy Pelosi, Julie Stokes types. And that's, I mean, she's starting to look like Nancy. And they want to caucus everything to the middle of the road. So in other words, what they're really saying is, look, we're going to raise taxes, and y'all can't do it, and we will. So that's all they're doing. And Kenny Havard and Barry Ivey, and of course they gave Barry Ivey a bunch of credit today. He was a Tea Party Republican. Yeah, he changed too, typical elected official. Typical elected official. But that's what they're doing now. They got this centrist caucus, middle of the road centrist caucus, led by Julie Stokes and the leftists in the Republican Party. They're going to team up with Democrats. You know, somebody just said they'd love to cut the state of Louisiana out of their budget. I can understand that. I mean, I don't really know what people are going to cut to continue to feed state government as they change nothing. Nothing's being changed. And folks, history shows no matter how much money you give them, they won't change anything. And that's why I bring up the point, what do we do now? Really, Republicans, except for the Nancy Pelosi, Julie Stokes types, Barry Irvin. Hey, by the way, guess who's in the caucus, Brandon? Guess who's in the caucus? I ain't raising taxes. You know what I'm saying? That's another one of those middle of the roaders. He's not a middle road, he's a leftist. When you're in the middle of the road, you're a leftist. You're just trying to be different. And let me tell you something. Every one of these Republicans ought to be Democrats, but they can't. Julie Stokes wants to be a bigger player. So the reason she won't go be a Democrat is she knows she'll get beat. So we got fake Rob Shannon type Republicans. Barry Ivey. Broadwater's gone. We can't pick on him anymore. He's got a government job now. And Nancy Pelosi, Julie Stokes. And what they're doing now is they're trying to run the party. John Alario, that's a great Republican, huh? Bubba Cheney, get some jobs in here, Bubba. You know, and it's the kind of Republicans we got in there. And so this middle of the road stuff is what's hurting us. Compromise is how we got into position. Compromise is why we have the problem. Somebody, if you are the Republicans and you won the House and you won the Senate, and we did have the governorship under Jindal, which was poor leadership at best, we should have done something. I'll say it again, Brandon, if we wouldn't have gave that sales tax, y'all, we wouldn't even be battling this right now. So when Jim Beam writes, critics singing same old tune, hey, Jim, you preaching the same old message. Tax the people to prosperity. Go back and look. Mike Foster had budget problems. He used to talk about the same thing. So did Blanco. So did Jindal. So was Edwards. So did Edwin Edwards. Nothing changed. They're not trying to change it. That's why I keep asking the question, what part of your income can you give up to state government? You better come up with something. You're going to cut something out. They don't care. I mean, think about it. They don't care. And all the mandates we have on us now with insurance, sales tax, property tax, this tax. You know, go get rid of your tires, Brandon. They charge you $2 a tire to dispose them. You know, another $8. I mean, it's only $8 on top of the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars we have to pay with federal, state, and all these taxes. They don't fix anything. Do we need to pay taxes? Absolutely. Do I want to help poor people, underprivileged people? Absolutely. But when does it stop that the people that we're helping start helping themselves some? You know? By the way, somebody makes a good point. The media outlets continue saying state legislation is too partisan. Why do you think we're in this shape? Compromise. We've compromised every single thing. Look, folks, somebody has to play against the media. The media comes down from Washington, D.C. They act just like them. They're taking their sides. They don't care what you think. But so when you run into, I'm telling you, if everybody would sit down and write down their budget and put down what's mandated, okay? And when you put down your budget, don't put numbers. Just put down what you paying and what you're paying every month, and send that to your legislature and said, and this is what we ought to do. Every one of us, send it to our legislators, our senators, our representatives, and to the governor, and especially in the media. Send it to one of these really brainiacs in the media. Send it to Jim Beam. Send it to Greg Hill, but never mind, he wouldn't know what the hell it was. Send it to the advocate, Stephanie Grace. Send it to him. Send it, say, look, this is my budget. Would you please tell me what I'm supposed to cut so I can pay more in state taxes? Send it to them. Tell them to cut it. They make the hard cuts for you. You don't have to give them all the detail. The governor don't give the legislature all the detail. The bottom line is every legislator that doesn't agree to raising taxes, they calling them bad. And that's a sin and a shame. All right, Representative Kirk Talbot joins us. Kirk, how you doing?
Hey, Moon, how you doing?
Man, it's been a long time. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. I wanted to call in, and I know y'all weren't taking callers when you had Matthew Block on. I guess it was last Thursday. Mm-hmm. But, you notice they never mention, let's undedicate dedications. It's always, we don't have enough money, let's just keep raising taxes.
Correct.
And it's all because, we can only cut $2.4 billion out of a $30 billion budget, and $9.5 of that is state money. Well, why don't we undedicate dedications? I had a bill 2 years ago. I passed it off the floor. It got amended to heck and back, and then it ended up dying in the Senate. Sharon Hewitt has a statutory dedication bill this year. They talk about courage, and it really, I find it hilarious when they say that we have to have courage to raise taxes. I think courage is cutting statutory dedications that, everybody probably has some statutory dedication that means something to them. And they all say the same thing when you file a bill like that. Don't cut me, cut the other guy. Well, let's cut them all. Let's undedicate them and budget like you would budget your business and budget your home. But, there was also an article in The Advocate, I think yesterday, about nursing home reform that we can do that could save the state hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's take the courage and do that before we start raising people's taxes when we have the second highest budget ever.
Well, Kirk, I agree 100% with you. I think that you're right on the money. And if you heard any of the interview with Block don't answer a lot of Block don't answer a lot of questions either. They don't want to talk about the real reforms we need. But I know this: as citizens, you can't tax me anymore. I don't know where to cut my budget. Now, they're asking me to give them more, but I want them to tell me where to cut my budget.
They say things like, and they say it with contempt, like we have the sixth lowest tax burden in the country. I don't know where they're finding that statistic, but if that's true, we need to have a billboard at the state line saying, welcome to the state of Louisiana, sixth lowest tax burden in the country. And they pretend like we're some kind of Cayman Islands of tax shelter here.
Thank you for the call. We'll do it again. John Kennedy, United States Senator, when we get back. Hi, all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Good friend and friend of the program, United States Senator John Kennedy from the great state of Louisiana. John, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, Moon. Thanks for having me. I was sitting here listening to my friend Kirk Talbot talk.
Yeah.
He's my hero. He and Lance Harris and Cameron Henry and Speaker Byron did a great job in the session, man.
See, I think so, too, and I'm going to have him back on. He just called in right before, and I had you on, and I think they did a great job. Not being taxed $1 billion more, I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
No, I considered it a victory, and look, they had to fight Governor Edwards. They had to fight the Democrats. They had to fight the Republicans who are really Democrats, like Julie Stokes. They had to fight the media.
Yep. Good
but
point.
they didn't blink. They didn't blink, and they did the right thing. The governor keeps talking about numbers. Okay, let's talk numbers. We're not a wealthy state. We rank 43rd in America in per capita income, but yet we rank first in the South and 23rd in the country in state and local spending per capita. Mm-hmm. And it's not all federal money. And
no, not at all.
If you look at the budget, when Governor Blanco left, the budget was $16.5 billion. That was, 2005, 2006, 7. Today it's $29 billion. And you have to ask why. Well, we hadn't added any people.
No, we're losing people.
Inflation's been under 2%. And the problem is that Governor Edwards, I've known him for a long time, I like him. He's made absolutely no effort whatsoever to control spending. None.
No, everything we talk about, John's on the revenue side. I've seen it since Edwin Edwards to Bill Edwards. We only talk revenue. But, John, Senator Kennedy, here's the bad thing. We don't change anything inside government, and that's what I was saying earlier to our audience, John, is that where do I go to get my cut? Do I cut my little girl who's a special needs child? Do I cut her school out? Do I don't have a house note to pay? But I do have a house note to pay, and I got mandated stuff just like government. You do too.
And you just hit the nail on the head. That's the essence of the problem. In Louisiana, government is growing faster than the economy. It's a recipe for disaster. It ought to be the reverse. But John Bell, as long as I've known him, and I think I consider enough of a friend to call him John Bell, I mean no disrespect, he honestly believes the only problems in this whole world are those problems that government isn't spending enough of your money on. Mm-hmm. And he just feels like, I see it in Washington every day, that he and his colleagues, they're smarter than the rest of us, so we just ought to turn over all of our money to him, and he can make decisions for us about how to spend our money. And I don't agree with that.
John,
I think people can spend money better than government can.
United States Senator John Kennedy. John, once again, Jim Beam and these people in the press, and of course they like hitting you because they're looking at you running for governor, and so they hit on you when you say things, critics singing same old tune, but really the headlines ought to be governor preaching same old fixes, more revenue. They don't talk about that. Just think about the $3.4 billion in discretionary money is all we can cut. John, I just don't think that's true. I mean, we got almost $18 billion of state-generated money that's coming in, and that's a fact when you combine fees and everything else that we do. So when they say that, I kind of get a kick out of that. You can cut 2% at your house. I can cut 2% in my business. Businesses, and the other day, the Homer School District cut $6 million out of their budget. How can everybody cut some out of their budget but state government?
Well, you mentioned Jim Beam, the columnist for the American Express. I mean, that's an example of what our legislative leadership, at least in the House, has to fight every day. I mean, I've known Jim a long time. He used to be a really balanced, just call it like he sees it, fair to both sides.
Forget that.
And now, I think he's been smoking some of that medicinal marijuana or something.
Well, I think he loves Jay Darden.
He is gone off the deep end.
Sure is. Bad.
I mean, you close your eyes and you think you're reading something written by Nancy Pelosi.
Mm-hmm. Or Julie Stokes, same thing.
Or Julie Stokes.
Yeah. But I just wanted to throw that out to you because critics singing same old tune, and I'm going, but we doing the same old thing, Jim.
Well, and we are, and I think if Governor Edwards had made any attempt whatsoever to try to control spending, but he hasn't. I mean, he testified in front of the Senate that he'd cut $600 million from the budget, and even the liberal press called him on that. Even Commissioner Darden testified, well, that's just not accurate. Mm-hmm. And it is, I mean, they haven't tried to control spending. They just haven't. They've done nothing. When I was still state treasurer, I remember my last session, they were catching a lot of heat on consulting contracts, and Commissioner Darden grandly announced, well, we're going to get serious about consulting contracts, and we're going to cut them. And I'll be back to you and report what we've cut. And you haven't heard anything since.
Let me tell you what I heard. Lance Harris said he came back one time and gave a little brief deal. Matthew Block, who was on my program, he's done an extensive study on it. John Kennedy's wrong on that. And he said, John, you can't cut federal contracts, but you can cut some contracts. There's no doubt you can cut contracts.
Well, you can cut the state contracts, and you can take the federal money and get permission to redirect it. They give tens and hundreds of millions of dollars of federal money to these organizations, these NGOs that nobody's ever heard of.
Yep.
When you trace their lineage, you can usually trace them back to some politician who's getting money for his buddy. Nobody ever does any sort of accountability study about whether we're getting anything for the money. I mean, they just aren't concerned about controlling spending. They think that with the Jim Beams of the world and the Julie Stokes of the world, who I'm convinced is going to switch parties.
Yeah, by the way, I'm all for it.
Well, I mean, Julie really ought to. She is clearly no longer a Republican.
Senator Kinney, I got to cut you because I know you got to go and we got to go. Thank you, sir. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Couple of things with the special session going. Regular session going now. There's a lot of people that want to have a constitutional convention. And I'm going to say it again. It is a horrendous mistake to have a constitutional convention with Edwards and Darden and John Alario running the show. I'm just telling you. Tremendous mistake. Number two, they really want they'll say they want to get the statutory dedications and get in there and mess all that up. But what they really want to get to, and I'm just telling you, is ways to make sure they can fund what they want to fund by raising taxes. It takes a 2/3 vote to raise taxes. They want that to go back to a majority vote. They want to be able to raise revenue anytime they want to. They want to be able to eliminate 47 representatives that say no on taxes. I don't care what Republican or Democrat, I don't care who they are, conservative or not. If they agree to this, they're making a major mistake for the state. Now, what they're going to end up having to do is run the state where people leave. And when it's too late, maybe some grown-up in the room would come around and straighten it back. The reason they want to get to that is they definitely want to undedicate some stuff. But I'm telling you, the bottom line is they want to make dang sure they can get to two things. The other thing they want to get rid of, Brandon, is term limits. The Constitutional Convention, they can get rid of term limits, and they can get rid of 2/3 vote on taxes and fees. And I don't care what kind of momentum they get behind it. I'm telling you what they're trying to do. How many of you, and by the way, you don't know who's going to be at the Constitutional Convention. You don't know who they're going to invite. They may just say we're having a Constitutional Convention, we're doing all elected officials. But I can promise you, if John Alario and Jay Darden's hanging around, we will get slaughtered in a Constitutional Convention. And that's what worries me about one. You can't just have one. It's got to be limited. And taxes need to be off the table. I tell you what, if you tell them we limited it, no tax talk. Except if they want to do tax reform, that's fine. But the problem is with tax reform that comes out of the mouths of the left, it's going to be more money out of your pocket and more out of mine. That whole Constitutional Convention is going to be about how much money we can get out of people's pocket. It's not going to be about fairness in the tax code. All that stuff's out the wazoo. You heard Kennedy say we're 43rd in income. 43rd. And we're one of the few states that are not growing in the income status. And first and third in spending. I don't want to talk about either one of those. So, I'm telling you, be careful. Let's move on. Mike in Lake Charles. How you doing, Mike?
Well, good morning, Moon. Nice to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Good to hear from
you. Mr. Kennedy is, I don't understand why he's the United States Senator, but he's working so hard to claw himself back into Louisiana as the governor of the state. But that's just an aside. I mean, that's not what I called about. But it is interesting that he's always got it. But it seems like he ought to have a whole lot of stuff to work on in Washington to me. But the reason I called specifically is I'm an old radio guy, so I understand what talk radio is all about, and I understand where you're coming from. But my question to you is you're always talking about cutting spending, but I've never heard you get specific. What do we need to cut?
Great. By the way, I've been specific many times. We got way too many universities. We have Florida. We got more universities than Florida. Florida's a lot bigger state than us. Okay? So we got too many universities. If you have too many universities, you're going to have too many people working and too many top dogs at the top. So you got to find a way to take our universities. Don't get rid of them. You got to downsize them. Combine the ones that we can combine. I don't care if we have only one in North Louisiana. I don't care, but you got to find a way to do something with the university systems. And if you don't, you're going to always have too many employees. That's the biggest thing you could do right now. Number two, and this is a big thing, you realize local debt, we have over $1 billion that we take out of the state of Louisiana and have to pay for local debt. Now, why should the state government be paying for local debt? State government shouldn't be paying for local debt. We back it all up. Local government should pay. Number three, NGOs, non-governmental organizations. In the hundreds of millions or billions of dollars we spend on money that shouldn't go back to local governments. If you want to build a sidewalk in Lake Charles, Louisiana, don't you think the people in Lake Charles should pay for that? Don't you think the people in Lake Charles ought to get to vote up and down if they want a new sidewalk? Don't you think the people in Lake Charles, if they wanted a lake and a reservoir and a golf course, y'all should pay for that? Is that a state function? No, it's not, Mike. So that's another. NGOs has been a problem for a long time. Kennedy's talked about the contracts. It can save hundreds of millions of dollars if you would go back, and I think he's right on this, and take contracts and say, you know what, we're going to have to cut back on some of these contracts. By the way, a lot of these contracts are companies outside the state of Louisiana. Okay, that's four, and I give you so far. You've got to find a way to allow locals to do their thing and the state government prioritize their deal. And if you don't, you're never going to fix the problem. Okay, number five. I don't have every figure in front of me. Okay? Why does the state government every year have to spend every penny of the budget in every department? You realize that they don't get the same money they had that year, they get less. They have to spend every single penny in the budget every single year, or they don't get that plus. Do you think that's a good way to govern, Mike?
No, absolutely.
Okay, that's five. If you want me to continue, I'll sit here all day and visit with you about it, because the problem is, this is my question to you. What do I cut? I'm being mandated with sales taxes, property taxes, insurance, homeowners insurance, flood insurance, sales taxes. I'm being mandated with all those taxes and all those revenue to come out of my pocket with a 43rd in income amount of money we do. Our jobs are not growing. Our income's not growing. Mike, when do the people, middle-class people, when do we get a break? Where do I cut? Where do I give them more money? Why should I have to be always the one that cut? Why can't they look deep into the numbers?
Moon, I'm not going to get into a hollering match with you, but what I'm trying to ask you is, who is responsible for cutting all that stuff, and why haven't they done it?
Well, let me tell you what happens. The legislature appropriates. The governor knows all the numbers because every department head under government he controls. He's got 20 lawyers working for him. He's got an administrator in Jay Darden. He's got a PR guy in Richard Carbo. He's got an executive counsel, Mr. Block. Why can't they go and give us all the numbers so we'll know some of the stuff that we're talking about, some of the things that I just mentioned to you? Let's look in these departments. These legislators don't have those kind of numbers. No matter what they say, they really don't. They don't have 20 lawyers they can go grab. They don't have assistants that can do that. They really don't. And let me give you one other thing. Number 6. If you go back over the 10 or 15 years, our economy has grown at about 2%. Our government has grown at about 4%. How does that work, Mike? You said you were talk shows. How does that work? How does that work that government grows twice what the economy grows, and we say we don't have enough money? It's because our jobs, our out-migration and stuff like we're losing the best and brightest. We're not creating jobs here. You want to straighten the budget out and spend some more money? Let's go do something that we need to do that we haven't never done here. Make this the friendliest business state in the country. Let's lower the taxes. Let's get them low, where the people here can create jobs and businesses will come in. You got to grow your economy to support government. You don't grow your government to support the economy. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Moon, I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is, where have the legislators been? I mean, aren't they responsible for allocating the funds and appropriating the funds?
The legislature is part of the appropriation, and I'm not giving them a free ride. Under the Bobby Jindal years, they went along, including Bell Edwards, who voted for 6 of the 8 budgets, and John Hilario, who's the adult in the room. Where have they been? They just usually ride and roll with the governor. That's what they usually do, and that's a shame. John Hilario's been there 46 years. He's been in the most powerful positions and controls a lot of things that go on. We need to ask Hilario, what has he fixed, and why is he not trying to fix our problem? I know this, trying to raise taxes to fix every time they have a revenue problem, Mike is never going to fix it, ever.
No, you don't have a disagreement with me on that. The only thing that I'm saying is that these guys in the legislature, and don't tell me that they don't have lawyers, because virtually every one of them is a lawyer. I mean, you can't be a lawyer unless you're in the You can't be in the legislature unless you're a lawyer. So they have plenty of lawyers. So that's not a problem for them. So what I'm saying is those guys ought to be smart enough to get the numbers and present those numbers to the public and let the public take a look at them.
Well, I think you are right. Legislators' weaknesses have hurt us. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think I'm going to say it again. Taxing us to prosperity is never going to happen, Mike. It's been the legislature, the governor, the whole kit and caboodle of them for 40 years. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've not seen one thing change yet. No matter if we got a Republican legislature, Democrat, governor, it doesn't matter. We've not fixed anything. But anyway, Mike, and I could rattle some more stuff they need to fix, but you may not be interested. But I got to run. Thanks for the call. All right, we got to go. More calls when we get back. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. I just can't cut my budget anymore, Mike. When do I get more revenue? I'm just kind of curious. When do I get more revenue? We'll be right back. Welcome back. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Hey, I do want to mention one thing. People that like to fish. I got a buddy I met here in Lafayette, Mr. Olivier. Craig Olivier Custom Rods and Tackle. By the way, I bought some rods from him. He makes a great rod. They make baits and all that stuff. He also runs it's called Olivier's Custom Rods and by the way, and Tackle. They do a great job. They're located here in Lafayette. They're also, for you guys that want to fish, he's getting ready to start the King of Henderson tournament. Starts on March 15th, 5:30 till dark. Fished every other Thursday at the Basin Landing. If you want to know more details, here's the number, 337-233-6341. 337-233-6341. If you want to fish tournaments, it's OCRCustomTackle.com. And, hey, they make awesome rods. They make a lot of awesome baits. You people that are looking for jigs and the saltwater fishing, they make as good a jig as anybody. So anyway, give them a call. Check them out. If you like to fish bass tournaments starting in Henderson, I know it looks bad, but they're going to crank it up this Thursday. All right, 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Miss Marty in Lafayette. How you doing, Marty?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to answer Mike on that first thing that he came up with. about Senator Kennedy.
Sure.
Senator Kennedy is U.S. Senator for Louisiana.
Correct.
He is also a Louisiana citizen. He has just as much right to be concerned about Louisiana stuff as anybody else, Mike or anybody else. So I don't know what his problem is with Kennedy, but I just wanted to make that comment.
You know, we talk all the time about how when our legislators get to Washington that they all of a sudden forget about us and everything. Point. So then how come when we have someone like Senator Kennedy that still is very concerned with his home state, then we want to fuss at him and say, well, you got too much stuff going on up there to worry about. Why are you still concerned about us? Is it because you don't agree with his politics, or do you really want him to just leave us alone?
Exactly.
Yep.
I don't understand. He is a Louisiana citizen. He has just as much right to worry about Louisiana and everything else as anybody else. So
yeah,
anyway,
I think you make a good point. Listen, John doesn't have to defend himself on this program. I mean, this ain't. I'm not Jim Beam. Yeah, I'm not Jim Beam, and I'm not the advocate. So John,
I'm just telling Mike because I'm sure he's still listening.
Well,
maybe he ought to think about that.
Well, it's just like when Mike talked about. Never heard me talk about issues that fix the state. You remember I had C.B. Ferguson on here for 12 and a half years, and all he did was talk about ways to fix the state. The problem is you got to have the guts to do it. My question is, how come, what do I have to do to fix my budget? Because as you continue to take more, it's going to hurt me and all the other middle-class people in this state.
No, I understand completely. I have cancer, and they want me to take this medicine that's $250 a month. And I'm telling them I can't, and I can't get free because I make a little bit too much money, and I can't get any help. But so I'm not taking that medicine.
Well, don't. So anyway. and by the way, I'm sorry to hear that. God bless you for what you're having to go through. But on the flip side, Governor Edwards wants to take more of your money. They never, ever talk about the other side of the ledger. Never. Now, the guy, when Mike called me, that's another thing. Rule number 7 or 8 or whatever I told him. You can't. Yeah. Why don't they look? The governor has access to every penny of every department. Every penny of every department. He can go look at it, but they don't want to look at that side of the ledger at all. But that's why I said today, well, let's look at my household. What do you want me to cut? Do I have some discretionary money? Absolutely. Do I cut out my retirement money I put back? Do I cut out my discretionary money that we can play a little bit during the month? Go to a ball game, go out to eat, whatever. Do I give them that? What do I give them?
I can't even do that.
What the thing? I know, but I'm saying a lot of people are in your boat. I was talking about just me, but we've got about 10 or 12 mandates on us with insurance and sales taxes, and where do we cut? Where do we go get that money from? And that's and in your case, where do you go get the money? You're looking for some extra money to help you with something to do with your treatment. Yeah. Makes me sick. It's my stomach.
Well, I sure appreciate you. And I've always appreciated you. Listened to you since you started, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Marty. God bless you.
God bless you and your family.
Thank you so much, and best of luck to you. God bless you. All right. Norman in Poche Bridge. How you doing, Norman?
I'm doing pretty good, Moon. Listen, I've got a few statements and then a question. First of all, the state talks about, some people only talk about taxes. You talk a lot about cuts, which you've got a lot of reason going on here. But let me tell you something. I'm very close to a fella that's in a little state agricultural agency that deals with cost sharing. In other words, I want to do a project. I'll put $1, you'll match the $1. That agency has been cut back to the 1990s. Mm-hmm. He tells me he went, being a state elected official, he has to go take his gold standard of ethics. So he challenged the ethics man one day and said, listen, what do you say we only do our ethics training every other year? It's the same damn thing every year, and maybe we could use that money to fix the roads. And the ethics man said, oh, no, we can't do that. Our budget's been cut. We're doing this. We're doing that. We ain't got no money. Now, wait a minute. If the ag don't have no money, ethics don't have no money, where is the money going? That is my question.
I tell you where a lot of the money went. And they won't admit, Block didn't admit it the other day, this Medicaid expansion is costing us billions. It's costing us a lot of money. And they won't admit it. They won't admit how much money. They only want you to focus on how much they're getting from the federal government in matching. But they don't focus on, and I had a good friend of mine tell me from within, you go look at the expansion of Medicaid, the expansion of government medicine, and you'll find out where a lot of the money's gone. And once again, we're going to fund lakes and reservoirs and golf courses and the Purple Circle Social Club. We're going to fund all these local projects that are really a local project. And we got over $1 billion in debt that we have to service for local projects back home. They don't even talk about those kind of things. Anyway, got to go, Norman. Thanks. I just wish the governor would tell me where I got to cut to pay more taxes so I'll know. Because remember, if you itemize, 45% of us do, you just got nailed by Louisiana after the Trump tax cut. Nailed. Anyway, we'll take a quick break. More to come. Only 22 hours. We'll be right back in 22 big ones.